Hello and welcome to our weekly news programme Winchester Now. I'm Mary Blaxland with some of the stories making the news in the city this week. Plus we visit the new repair café as a campaign urges us to cut waste, and a very moving exhibition that's opened in the city's nutshell. Winchester Radio. First tonight, investigations are continuing after a crash on the M3 at Winchester which claimed the life of a 38-year-old man from the West Midlands. His van collided with a broken-down lorry close to Junction 10. The southbound carriageway of the motorway was closed for 10 hours for police inquiries and recovery of the vehicles. It caused traffic congestion in and around the city. Officers have thanked motorists for their patience and are appealing for any witnesses to this tragic incident. Now for other news around Winchester, here's Steve Walker.
Plans for a revamp of Junction 9 of the M3 are coming under the spotlight. A public hearing into the proposal has begun this week. National Highways wants to alter the junction so that traffic heading from the M3 to the A34 no longer has to use the Winnell roundabout. Objectors are concerned about the environmental impact of the scheme and whether alternative ways of reducing congestion have been considered. The hearing is in the first stage of a 6-month-long examination, with the government making the final decision next year. Winchester MP Steve Bryan has apologised after it was found he breached parliamentary rules on the declaration of MPs' interests. The Parliamentary Commissioner for Standards found he didn't fully declare his paid work for a health recruitment firm when lobbying ministers during the pandemic. They've confirmed the matter is now closed. A project in Hampshire to support victims of stalking and to stop reoffending has been awarded more than £1 million by the Home Office. The initiative involves Hampshire Police, the Police and Crime Commissioner, Southern Health NHS Foundation Trust and the Probation Service. The county is one of 3 pilot sites for the multi-agency stalking intervention programme.
Winchester Radio. A moving and thought-provoking exhibition has opened at the Nutshell in Winchester, the building formerly the Antique Market. It's called Loved and Lost and is a series of photographs, interview quotes and films. Winchester-born photographer Simon Bray explores the feelings of loss by restaging precious family photos, encouraging people to think back and remember. The project has been praised in national newspapers and TV and started as he dealt with his own family grief.
So I lost my dad about Christmas time, 2009, and I'd sort of started developing my photography for myself and wanted to sort of create some stories, and I had this idea to restage an old family photograph. So I asked my mum if she had a photograph of her and dad that we could go back and redo, and she found this one that was very precious to her of them stood at the top of St Giles's Hill just a couple of days after they got engaged. And so we went back up there on a sort of quite wet and windy autumn day, sort of retook the picture. So I got her to stand in sort of roughly the same position, and then we put these 2 pictures side by side. So you've got this sort of old film shot from quite a few years ago now, and then the new shot of mum, and there's obviously a space where my dad wasn't there. And it was very, very poignant, and I sort of recorded an interview with mum about her experience, and that was really enlightening as well, because her experience of losing dad was very different to my experience of losing him, and you know, her relationship obviously as a married couple for many, many years was different to mine as his son. So that was really interesting for me, and the project sort of developed from there. I was able to sort of use that method of restaging the picture and recording the interview and taking a few other portraits and landscape shots. I've now worked with about 25 different people. It's been featured on BBC One Show and BBC Breakfast, and the project now exists on the website lovedandlostproject.co.uk, where you can see and read all the stories. But I'm delighted to have an exhibition here in Winchester at the Nutshell, open for the next few months until mid-July, and it's lovely to have the show in my hometown and where it all began.
And there's some very sad, very poignant stories here. The people who've shared their stories, why have they wanted to talk to you, and what have they got out of speaking about what they've been through?
Well, I think when you go through something like losing a loved one, there's not necessarily a path to navigate in terms of how you best look after yourself, or how you let out all the emotions that are whirling around, and as time passes that changes, and people, you know, who are potentially asking how you were getting on in the first few weeks or months potentially stop asking, and that's just the nature of the journey of grief. So I wanted to give people a sort of a platform, I suppose, to share their story. That was wonderful for me because that enabled me to understand more about my grief. But it also gave them a chance through the project to return to a location, to find this important picture and to go back to the place and sense what it feels like to be in that place and then to talk about it and have this sort of very physical act, I suppose, of remembering somebody and having this opportunity, I suppose, through the project to share these memories. And grief is a very unique thing, but there are strands that allow it to feel sort of collective, and yet we really still struggle for the language to express it. So I think it's important for me to demonstrate it's something we can talk about. It might be a bit scary and it might be a bit sad, but I honestly believe the worst thing that anybody could do is pretend it didn't happen. The idea of the project really is to encourage people to talk and share it, and whether people have taken part in Loved and Lost through me or whether they've seen it and felt inspired to look back at old photographs or return to a place or cook somebody's favourite meal or watch their favourite film or whatever it is. There are some beautiful ways in which we can individually and collectively remember people, but there's so many different ways in which we can actively talk and engage with our grief rather than just trying to keep it in and pretend it didn't happen. I like to try and have a sort of moral or thoughtful element to the work I make, but by far this is the project that's reached the most people, and I'm really delighted to be able to show it in my hometown. Yeah, please do come down and have a look, whether it's in your lunch break. We're hosting an artist talk in the second week of June, I think, so you can come and hear me waffle on a little bit more about it, but come and ask some questions and grill me and see and find out for yourself what it's all about.
And to see those photos and find out more about the exhibition opening times, visit thenutshellwinchester.com. Fix it, don't bin it. That's what people are being urged to do with a campaign called The Big Fix, taking place this month. People are being encouraged to reduce waste and save money by visiting their local repair café, where broken items can be given a new lease of life. Here in Winchester, a repair café opened in April with sessions every month. I went along to find out more. The Repair Café in full swing at Badger Farm Community Centre. Volunteers here with a range of skills, from electrical to sewing, musical instrument repair to woodwork. And people have brought a variety of items in the hope of getting them fixed. What have you brought in today?
This is a shredder. Well, it's supposed to be a shredder, but it doesn't shred.
How important is it that you can fix it rather than having to throw it away?
I could get a new shredder. That wouldn't be too difficult. But this is like electronics. It's worth trying to fix. If I just chucked it on a landfill, this is a fairly substantial piece of e-waste. So, I like to repair stuff, if possible.
Well, we've brought my husband's in-laws' old radio. They've had a look at it. There's some life in it, but it's a bit past their repair. But they are going to put us in touch with somebody else who might be able to do something about it.
So how old is this radio?
Well, it's somewhere between probably 1940 and 1950, although actually I don't know.
What would it mean to have it fixed?
It would be great, actually.
What have you brought in today?
Brought my daughter's cello in. Unfortunately, it's got a broken neck, which is fairly major. Two different people have looked at it. The chap who is the instrument man and also the wood man, and between them they've done good teamwork, and they're going to put it in a clamp, and they're very hopeful that it will be playable.
How important to you is it that it gets fixed and it's not thrown away?
Oh, really important. We just wouldn't ever want to throw it away. It's just such a great instrument. We've tried in the past to take it to a shop, but the man there said it was just too expensive to mend and wouldn't do it. So we're come today in great hopes that we'll be able to play it again.
The idea for a repair café in Winchester first came about a year ago. Sessions take place once a month at Badger Farm Community Centre and Unit 12 in Winnall. Volunteers also man the café, bake cakes and welcome visitors. Hannah Henshaw is a trustee of Repair Café Winchester.
There is quite a big appetite for people repairing items. I think people are also quite keen to learn repair skills as well. Lots of repair skills we don't have anymore, and actually some of the basic things you can pick up from watching others. So a big part of the Repair Café here is you sit with the repairer doing the repair, and you might be able to watch them replace a fuse or sew on a button, and actually next time you might be a bit braver yourself to do it.
And looking around today, there's a lot of people here. What sort of things have they brought in?
So a wide variety of things today. We've got a wireless radio, a vacuum cleaner, a steamer, a cello, tops, some ripped trousers. We've got some people coming along to get some help with how to use their phones. Lots of lamps. We get a lot of lamp.
And people must be really grateful that you're here. What do they say to you about it?
Yeah, the feedback is really positive. People love the atmosphere, being able to come in and chat to people about what they're doing and how they're doing it. People are really pleased. We obviously aren't able to fix everything. There are some items that come in and aren't repairable, and often that is a reassurance as much as anything else for the person, that they know that they're throwing it away knowing they've tried everything they can. So yeah, it's really positive, especially when people go out the door having had their item fixed and usable again. The social side of stuff for us is really important. So we've got lots of repairers who really value being able to come along and chat to people. It's a lovely chance to share your skills with others and to meet other people who are interested in this kind of thing. And obviously we always have cake. People are always welcome to come along and have a cup of tea and cake.
This month is the Big Fix campaign. Do you think people are trying now to fix things rather than just throwing it away?
Yeah, I think the culture of trying to repair things in Winchester, it does feel like it's becoming bigger. Obviously there's lots of elements of life where actually we have a very throwaway culture, and there are lots of really great organisations in Winchester and around the country that are trying to stop that, from sustainable fashion initiatives to recycling initiatives and repurposing things and upcycling things. So I think there really is an appetite to do more, and that certainly is the case with people coming into the cafe.
The Big Fix is a national campaign to reduce waste. Organisers of Repair Café Winchester say in the 4 sessions so far, 35 volunteers have given 279 hours and stopped more than 100 kilograms of waste. You can book a slot at the Repair Café or walk in. To find out dates and more information, visit repaircafewinchester.org.
And now for some more news from around our city. Foster Care Fortnight is taking place in Hampshire as the County Council continues its bid to find 150 new foster families by the end of this year. The campaign aims to raise the profile of fostering and how it transforms lives. A virtual information session is being held next Thursday for anyone interested in finding out more. Electrical superstore Currys has closed its doors in Winchester. The company's site in Winnell has been boarded up with posters advising shoppers to go online. It's the latest big name to leave the city and follows the loss of Paperchase, Debenhams, New Look and the downsizing of C&H Fabrics. And finally, some football news. Local women's first team at Winchester City Flyers are the NHDFA Cup champions. They beat Basingstoke Town FC women 4-0 in the final. And that's the roundup of the news for today.
Hi, I'm Paul Blitz and it's time for this week's community shout-outs. And our first shout-out is to everyone who slept out in the grounds of Winchester Cathedral to raise money for the homeless. Some of them made cardboard shelters and it was all to take part in the Trinity Big Sleep Out. There were food stalls, music and even a bedtime story. There was also a surprise visit by the Prime Minister. Rishi Sunak had been in Winchester to attend the funeral of a former teacher at Winchester College and he dropped by the sleep out on his way back to show some support. Hospital bosses have taken to social media to give a big thank you to all our fantastic nurses as we celebrated International Nurses Day. Nurses from over 80 countries work in Hampshire hospitals. A number of events took place at our local hospital, including a celebratory cake to recognise the brilliant work they do to provide care for patients and their families each day. A well done to Winchester Boxing Club, who raised funds for the Winchester Beacon and Loddon School by holding a boxing show at the Guildhall. The amateur club provides training to boxers of all ages and genders and to people with learning difficulties and mental health problems. It's always been a supporter of the former night shelter, welcoming residents to their sessions. Finally, a special mention to Alice Lardin, a resident of Chesil Lodge in Winchester, who has just celebrated her 100th birthday. Staff arranged a special birthday tea to mark the occasion with flowers and a cake. Alice has 6 grandchildren and 8 great-grandchildren. The staff there say she is an incredible lady with a great sense of humour and is still able to touch her toes. They organised 100 cards to mark the occasion and she also received a card from the King and Queen. Nice one, Alice.
Winchester Radio.
Finally today, news of a busy weekend of events coming up across the Winchester area. It's Mayfest on Saturday with Morris dancing and other displays, as well as singing and music, bringing joy to the city centre. On Sunday, hundreds of runners, some in fancy dress, will pound their way around the River Park as Race for Life raises money for cancer research. And it's the Alresford Watercress Festival, with street markets, food and drink stalls, cookery demonstrations and more. We'll bring you reports on some of those in next week's show, and until then, goodbye and thanks for listening.